Hey, house guests, welcome to today's BB23 updates and spoilers. Oh my god, I was just trying to go live and I don't know if you just saw like 30 seconds of me just sitting here like this. But if you did, I am very sorry about that. If not, woo! Okay, so our house guests of the day are Lisa Herbert and Carl Van Bergen. Thank you both so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla. Isn't that fun? Right? What a great value. But it really does help out the channel. So thank you so much to everybody who supports us on Patreon. And speaking of support, I want to thank all of our super chatters from yesterday because you guys also, we could not do this without you. So Jefferson Tucker, Michelle Noel Creations, Andy W., Alex Garza, Diana Lee Melander, Jody Cortez, Julian Bohem, I think I said that wrong yesterday, Julia Mello, Janine Honberger, and Jody Cortez again, and The Real VB. Thank you all so much for the support. It means a lot to us. And everybody who's here today, welcome. And happy first eviction day of the season. Woo! Let's talk about what's been going on in the house. Oh, wait. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to our super chatters so far. Donnie Greenwell, thank you so much. He said, can't think of a better way to start my evening than seeing this beauty and hearing the voice to me that is Big Brother. You're so sweet. Oh, thank you. And Michelle C., thank you so much. You are so generous and so sweet. Thank you, guys. Now let's get started. When we left off yesterday, Alyssa and Travis up on the block. This is it. POV is done. These are our final nominees for the week. Not looking good for Travis, but by the time we ended yesterday's spoiler, he hadn't really started campaigning yet. He was mapping out what he was going to say with his team, Team Queens. They were helping him figure out his talking points, but he hadn't presented it yet. So he really wants to focus his efforts on Frenchie because, let's face it, it's definitely possible to sway him. For sure. Also, he's the HOH this week. So even though he doesn't technically have any power left, a lot of people are still in that mindset of voting however the HOH wants. So he's really going to try and convince Frenchie that he needs to stay, and then he's hoping that Frenchie will do a lot of the other work for him. So he has a few main points that he's really going to try to hammer home, but we'll get there in a bit when it's presentation time. So in other news, Tiffany, Claire, Azza, and Brittany settled on a name for their alliance. The artists formerly known as the Sirens are now the Kingslayers. Love the name. And also, Whitney and Frenchie solidified their final 2 deal. How many final 2 deals does Frenchie have now? I honestly don't know. I should have kept a tally, but I didn't. I feel like there's a lot of good alliance charts out there. I feel like, is it Dolphy? I always see their stuff popping up on Twitter. I know there's another one too. I want to say Razorscape, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, there's some good alliance charts out there that are actually look a little bit like a headache when you first look at them, but they are very helpful. Also, we saw yesterday that Frenchie sold out the Girls Alliance. Remember, it's called French Kisses, and it has every woman except for Whitney and Alyssa. And he sold out this alliance that he created to Brent, Whitney, and Xavier. And he is claiming that the girls started the alliance and invited him. Why would anyone believe that? In what world does that make any sense? It doesn't even make sense in the Big Brother world. No freaking way. So, anyway, they're believing that. They are believing this is legit. And he's like, yeah, I joined it, and I'm going to bring the information back to the slaughterhouse, and, like, I'm the best player ever. Ever. All right. So now let's dive into the new stuff. Sorry, my hair's a little insane right now. It's always wet. But anyway, yesterday afternoon, the house guests were on an HOH lockdown and the feeds were off for a few hours. I'm pretty sure Big Brother was just doing some maintenance around the house. It didn't sound like they had been practicing for an HOH competition or anything like that. No, like, fun activities. And this is not Big Brother Canada, so they weren't doing any, like, sponsor-related things. I feel like that's so ingrained in my mind now. But anyway, after that was all done, Alyssa was really making the campaign rounds. She was doing a lot of one-on-ones, checking in with people. So she talks to Derek X in the yacht club bedroom, and Alyssa tells him, you got to take the personal aspect out of it for this vote. It sucks. I know that Travis is your close friend, and you can vote for him to stay. I'm not going to be offended by it. Sure. She was telling a lot of people, like, oh, I know you're friendly with Travis, or, oh, I know you're teammates with Travis, so just let me know if you do want to give him, like, a sympathy vote, and that'll be totally fine with me. But then she was telling her own allies, like, no, it won't be fine. I would definitely nominate them. So, yeah. But anyway, Lil D says, this is obviously a house vote, and he's not going to go against that. And Alyssa explains, yeah, if you vote against the house, it would be really easy for the next HOH to put you up on the block. You know, it's an easy excuse to be like, this person voted against the house, so I'm putting them up. So then Alyssa asks him, how's Travis doing? Is he going to talk to people at all? Like, what's his campaign looking like? So Lil D says he's in good spirits right now. And he hasn't really talked to that many people, or many at all. But he says Alyssa's campaigning may inspire Travis to start himself. Okay. So then Alyssa talks about how it's actually a good thing that she went on the block this week, because if she didn't, she wouldn't have made as good of a connection with Frenchie. You know, they actually have, like, a lot in common. Stop! I'm sorry, but when you say, like, oh, it's actually a good thing I went on the block, you just sound brainwashed. You're out of control right now. Just stop. So Alyssa says to Lil D, if you are going to vote me out, just tell me ahead of time so that I can let my team know that I told you it was okay. And Derek again is saying, like, I'm not going to vote you out. Like, don't worry about it. This is not even a thing. Like, I'm not voting you out. Okay, so then Sarah Beth and Kyland were chatting in the HOH room, and remember, these two are very, very tight. They have a final two deal. They've already been spilling all sorts of information to each other, like alliances, and they've still got more tea to spill. Okay, so Sarah Beth says yesterday, Frenchie started another alliance with the girls. Predictable. Oh, she did say predictable. Love it. So she says it's me, Hannah, Azza, Claire, Tiffany, and Frenchie. She didn't mention Brittany, but Brittany is also a part of that. So Sarah Beth says now Frenchie is covered on all sides. She's like, I see what he's doing. He's got his little boys thing, because she does know about the butchers and the slaughterhouse. And now he has this alliance that includes almost every single person that he wasn't already aligned with. So Sarah Beth says it's fine though, because, you know, all the girls are pretty much on the same page. They feel like Frenchie is kind of sketchy, and we all know that this is not 100% legit. So none of us are going to be giving him, like, really important information. Good. Okay. So then they talk about Derek X, and Sarah Beth says her only problem with Derek is that he was willing to throw her name out there, and to her that just says, like, he's not serious about working with her if she's already expendable to him like that. So she says, I can forgive. I'm a logical player. So, you know, if I felt like I could trust him going forward, then I would. So Kyland really goes to bat for Derek X here. He's explaining what happened this week and how people were telling Derek X that he needs to target Christian. And because Christian and Sarah Beth are on the same team, Sarah Beth's name was kind of also tied into that. But he says he's not going after you. He says Derek is probably going to be targeting people that are a threat to him. Like, no offense, you're not a threat to him. But Sarah Beth says, well, I think if Lil D doesn't win HOH next week, he's a dead man walking, because a lot of people are talking about putting him up on the block. But she says, if I win, I might not take a shot at him. but I'm not going to have much choice. You know, this team situation is making it really difficult for people to figure out who they want to target, because you're not just like putting up one person. When you nominate somebody, you got to take into account as well like how their team is going to react to it. So it's adding like another layer of stickiness to this whole thing. So Kylan says, look, Derek is the only person so far who's done what he said he would do. You know, he promised me he would use the power veto on me, and he followed through. He did it, even though he was getting a lot of pressure put on him. Seriously. I mean, you wouldn't know it watching last night's episode, but you guys have been keeping up with the feed, so you know how freaking insane it was leading up to the POV ceremony. So Kylan says that's worth considering. You know, he did what he said he was going to do. So Sarah Beth says, yeah, but also think about saving you was like the best possible move for Lil D's game. So it's easy to follow through on your promise when it is beneficial for you. All right. So then Sarah Beth says she's kind of nervous about the big alliance and that she's not a part of it. So for that reason, she would be open to starting to chip away at that alliance, maybe put up Brent and Whitney instead of Lil D. Okay. I like the sound of that. She says, I don't feel safe with either one of them. I haven't really talked game with either one of them. And Kylan seemed to be on board with those nominations. But she says, if one of them does come down, I'm probably going to have to put up Lil D as the replacement nominee. You don't have to. All right. So then moving on, it's time for Travis to make his big campaign presentation to Frenchie and Brent in the HOH room. So it was very straightforward and to the point. It was brief. He wasn't adding any fluff to this, really. It was basically like, in this essay, I will present 4 points that I think will very much benefit both of your games, and then I'll let you deliberate amongst yourselves. He didn't say the in this essay part, but like it had that vibe to it. So let's go through Travis's campaign points. He's got 4 points here. Paragraph number 1. He's talking about how Frenchie's initial reason for nominating Alyssa had to do with her possibly maybe getting into a showmance with Christian at some point. So he's like, all right, Alyssa and Christian may not be a thing right now, but that could still very well happen down the line. They are still very close anyway. But also, Xavier has mentioned that there's a girl that he's very fond of, a girl who can be very dangerous to his game because of how much he likes her. So Brent is there as well, and he confirms, yes, Xavier did say this. And they feel like it's pretty safe to assume that he's talking about Alyssa, because I guess they said Xavier is always all over Alyssa, always like rubbing her back and all this stuff. And I have heard him talk about how much he likes her. But it's kind of sad because I feel like she's not interested in him in that way. But they're like, yeah, we see what you're saying there. Number 2, Travis talks about how loyal he is. There was that whole situation where Frenchie called out Travis, Kylan, and Derek X for trying to start an alliance together. And when he confronted them about it, Derek X was not honest. Kylan was kind of iffy about it, but Travis was straight up. And Frenchie agrees, yes, Travis, you've already proven yourself to me with that whole situation. Number 3, there is the potential that a girl alliance will be popping up. And Travis says, if I go, that's one less guy, one less dude. And then if a girl wins HOH and gets rid of another guy, the women are going to have the absolute majority. It's going to be 8-6, and you're going to be in trouble. So they're like, yeah, okay, sure. Number 4, the final point. Travis says this is the spiciest one for Frenchie. So he says, going into next week, you think that you'd have a big target on your back. But Travis says, if I stay, I'm going to be the biggest target. I will be a shield in front of you. Who would you rather sit next to up on the block? Me or anyone else?